tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song. I will try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Oh, I get high with a little help from my friends. Oh, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. What do I do when my love is away? It don't worry me to be alone. But how do I feel at the end of the day? I'm not sad that I'm on my own. I get by with some help from my friends. Oh, I get high with some help from my friends. I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Do I need anybody? I need someone to love. But could it be anybody? Oh, I want someone to love. Oh, so if you ask me if I believe in a love at first sight, oh, I'm certain that it happens all the time. But what do I see when I turn out the light? I can't tell you, but I know that it's mine. I get by with some help from my friends. Oh, I'm gonna get high with help from my friends. Oh, I'm gonna try with some help from my friends. What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me?
Wake up everybody, yeah, yeah, yeah. We are all VIP, we are all VIP. With some hard work, good vibes and community. U-N-I-T-Y in unity. What does respect mean to me? Accept each other, there's a right to be free. You, me, he and she. We can be just as we want to be. Respecting, but not respecting. Be good, never keep accepting. Open your ears, listen to others. Because we're all sisters and brothers. Wake up everybody, yeah, yeah, yeah. We are all VIP, we are all VIP. With some hard work, good vibes and community. U-N-I-T-Y in unity. Unity, working together. Friends through hard times and friends forever. See the bigger picture, the common goal. Make this a place we can all call home. Sometimes we all need a little kindness, and our community will help us find it. Wake up everybody, yeah, yeah, yeah. We are all VIP, we are all VIP. With some hard work, good vibes and community. U-N-I-T-Y
אני יושב עכשיו קרוב אל השמיים, מנסה למצוא תשובות לשאלה, על הדרך גם חולץ את הנעליים, חיילים עכשיו עוזבים את המרכבה, כן אני יושב שם חושב, קצת עלייך להכאיב מעט ללב, את המשפט הבא את בטח מכירה, יום יומיים אני בא בחזרה, נגמר, נגמר, נגמר. ובדרך כשיצאנו אל הבית, אז יצאנו בפלאפל בפינה, ואנשים שם הסתכלו מחאו כפיים, הגיבורים שלנו אמרו באהבה, ואני עומד שם מסתתר, קצת גדול עליי להיות זה ששומר, ובין ביס לביס עולה בי מחשבה, לעזאזל כמה גיבורים יש במדינה, נגמר, 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 נגמר. ומאז אפשר למנות כמעט שנתיים, והיום אני עסוק בהשלמה, בעוד רגע כבר אשמע את הכפיים, ואז אצעק בכל כוחי מהבמה, ואם שומעים אם מקשיבים, עוד אפשר למצוא כאב בין המילים, ומבטיח לא אכתוב על זה יותר, רק בפעם הבאה ששווה, נגמר, 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 נגמר. יש מדינה אחת על יד ירושלים, שם עדיין משתוללת מלחמה, כי אנשים שם מאבדים את העיניים, לא מחכים לגיבורים באף פינה, נגמר, נגמר, נגמר.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Jeffery Geisner. I'm the founder of the Jewish Culture and Holocaust Remembrance 10.7 group, and now our new community, the One Revolution. I'm also trying to admit people as we're speaking here, so I have a little bit of a distraction. I'm so happy that all of you could join us. I have many new friends who are here that I'm meeting for the first time. We're excited to bring you this program. It will be different than I think what your expectations are, and we're excited to provide what I call a BEHAG, a big, audacious, hairy goal of an idea to you. And my colleagues, both Dr. Sheryl, Rabbi Dr. Sheryl Kamen and Yifat Cohen is with me to help me present. So we're all here together. I want to take a few minutes to make the introductions. So Sheryl, if you can raise your hand so people can see you on screen. And also Yifat, who's there and as well. Yifat is coming from Israel, Haifa, and Sheryl is coming from Austin, Texas. And we have an international crowd. I see people from Israel also, and I'm going to ask you for a second to go, after I do a little bit of more education here, to go into chat. So if you get knocked off the program, this is obviously Zoom, just click the link that brought you in and I'll readmit you during the program. We have a full discussion, which is going to be held at the second part of our program. We do want you, as you listen to the presentations in the front part, to put your questions in chat. So just here is the chat. Just put your name in there. We're going to now ask you to go to chat and let us know where you're zooming in from so we can identify with you. So please do that, and that's great. By the way, all the chat will be recorded, and this is being recorded as well, this program. It'll be streaming on all of our programming channels through the web. That's both on our website, the Facebook pages. We have Spotify, we have Apple, we have Google, and we have YouTube. So we have a wide variety of streaming platforms. Also, when we get to the Q&A section, we want you to go to the reactions button, which makes it easier for all of us. And Yifat will be managing the chat all throughout the program. So click on the reactions button and you will see a hand come up. You'll see they're placed there in the reactions to raise your hand, and you'll now see on my screen your hand raised. This way, when you do that, you immediately come to the front screen of the Zoom screens. I also want to ask you if you please, I set up the Zoom so that only we see the people who have their cameras on. So if you want to be seen, if you want to ask a question, it's really important for you to be able to put your screens on so we can see you. Otherwise, you're not available to us and we wouldn't be able to get your question. So that's the wrap of the tech side. And I want to thank the survivors who are with us. I know I just saw Jackie Kamash come in, who's a survivor. So we're really happy. Mark Levy is a great friend. He's in Israel. So we have an international group of people. So I'm just going to go to the chat now. I see Delaware. I see Virginia, Missouri, Florida, Los Angeles, Israel. I see Rockland, New York, from Texas, Washington State, New Jersey, Toronto, Canada, the UK, Los Angeles, Prescott, Scotland, Rehovot, Israel. So you can see we have an international group. I'm going to start the program with a musical video, which will be a very interesting one. It'll sort of set up this program in a way to give you a sense that, as those who are recently joining, and I'm admitting as we speak, I hope this program will open your eyes to a different way of thinking about this topic of pushing back about global anti-Semitism. Sheryl will spend a lot more time talking about this subject matter than I will, since she's the expert, and Sheryl is a Rabbi Doctor who has committed her life to this topic, actually. We met together through Zoom, through one of my programs, as did Yifat, and Yifat presented to the group in 2021 about her father's tremendous book called The Boy Who Drew Auschwitz, and Sheryl will give you a little bit, Sheryl and Yifat will tell more about their backgrounds. So I'm going to get started by sharing my screen and playing a short, about a 4 or 5 minute video, which I think you'll all enjoy. Hold on one second. Just bear with me.
Can we change our destiny? Can't we bridge boundaries for all our sons and daughters?
Then why do we close our eyes? Why do we criticize?
Our hands are beyond all borders.
Now is the time we must unite. This is the cry of our motherland. Give all you've got.
Give peace a chance.
We stand together as one.
Divided by borders, feeling me when me singing, can you hear me getting louder? Raise up society, awake to reality, gathering all together as one, with unity, a new situation, a new salvation, God for you and I, unification, all together we can fight as one, the revolution just begun.
Brother kill brother in the world that we live. This is the truth, this has to change. Give it all you got, you gotta give it all you got, you gotta give it all. You gotta make the change.
Now is the time we must unite.
This is the cry of our motherland. Give all you've got.
Give peace a chance.
We stand together as one.
Okay, we're back, and I'm going to now introduce Sheryl. And Sheryl Kamen, please take over the mic and present some of your background, and we will get started.
I'm sorry, I thought Yifat was going to speak first. Yifat, were
Yeah,
you prepared?
yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'll do first and then Sheryl. Hi, thank you so much, Jeffrey. Hi, everyone. Very exciting to see people from actually around the globe, I would say. Very exciting. So I'm Yifat, I'm from Israel. Jeffrey just wanted to say a brief background of who I am. I'm an Israeli woman, a social worker, social activist. I has been all my life. I'm a second generation from both my parents, who both their families perished in the past. And my father has been carrying his testimony for many years. He's been active, and he's 94. Both of my parents are still with us. And since COVID time, more or less, I became a partner with my father to carry on his testimony. And he has a written and drawn testimony, which came out again to the world during COVID. So I'm actually now carrying that, and that became part of my life mission. To carry on a story of survival and thrive and hope, even though all he went through, and a story that keep lots of messages to present generation, to future generation. And I think it's all coming together. And what happened in Israel in October and what's going on in the world since just make it more and more clear that we are inside a revolution, whether we want it or not. It is a revolution, and it's our decision which part we're going to take. Are we going to be active, and what part we're going to take in that? And I was so happy. I mean, I know Jeffrey for a while, and I just got to know Jeffrey and Sheryl thinking of the common idea of connecting people around the world who share the same vision, the same hope, the same belief that the world should and could be better, can be better, and it's up to us. And it always has been the messages of my father's from his experience in the Holocaust. Holocaust just showed us the extremists that humanity can get to, and it's up to us to avoid that and do everything that we can to go to a new path. And I think the chaos that we're seeing now, I feel this is Bereshit. This is the Tohu Vavohu that has been before everything started again. This is a time for Genesis. Might be a cliche, but I really feel that's what we're going through. So we can look at those parts, but we have to look forward and see that we have actually an opportunity to start over in many ways and deal with what's coming and keep our bravery as Jews, as human beings. And I think Sheryl would go deeper into those ideas, but that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm so happy and enthusiastic of this idea that we all come together, share our ideas, share our abilities, knowledge, and work together. And there's so many amazing people around the world. And I think the song that Jeffrey just put on was showing that, so many people from all religions, all nations, all cultures. We have people who feel the same, and we should unite. So the one revolution that we joining together from starting this thinking together today feels really the right thing to do. So thank you for everyone, and thank you, Manny, for Jeffrey, for having this all being collected together for a long while now, but this is a new step. So thank you. And I'm just going to give a brief for what you're going to do today. Jeffrey actually mentioned it, so whoever just joined us perhaps later. So I'm going to pass the mic to Rabbi Dr. Sheryl Kamen, who is going to give her presentation, actually ours, a view, a new way of seeing the countering of anti-Semitism in a new approach. And then you have a time for question and answers. If anything urgent, I'll be looking at the chat. So if you really want to say something or ask, I hope to see it. Otherwise, when Sheryl finish her talk, you can do that. There would be time for question and answers. And then Jeffrey would do a presentation of what's actually going on already. And then the second part would be actually everyone's part to participate, say your views and share your ideas. So thank you again for coming. And Sheryl, all yours.
Before Sheryl, you speak, I wanted to just let everyone to know I'm in my third week of cervical neck surgery, and this is why I have this hard brace around my head. I'm also wanted to give you a little bit of background before Sheryl speaks as how we got here. On October 7th, I was involved in a coffee group in San Diego, which I used to live at, and we were on Zoom. And all of a sudden, my Zoom, without my really paying any attention, I started getting voicemails, I started getting WhatsApp requests, I started getting emails, and I started getting Zoom requests. And when I got off the 2-hour meeting, I really had no idea what was going on until I opened my computer and I started to see what was happening in Israel. And then I called just happened to be talking to two survivors from around the world who contacted me. And I saw the trauma that was presented on screen, how survivors were feeling the echoes of the Holocaust as they were watching what was happening in Israel, thinking this is happening again. They never thought again this would be happening in their lifetime. On Sunday, that was Saturday, on Sunday, I started to get the same type of response from second gens who are in our community. Now we have 20,000 members worldwide in this community under the Jewish Culture and Holocaust Remembrance 10.7 umbrella. So we do have a wide mouthpiece already. And so on Sunday night, I started to think, should I be passive? What do I do? Should I just be like everyone else and watch the news? Or should I use the talents that I have and certainly the large community that I've built since 2021 to activate? And so on Monday morning, I called two friends of mine who happen to be psychologists. I shared what I was experiencing over the weekend. They immediately signed on to a program that I put together on Tuesday, only 2 days after 10/7, which was our first trauma support Havara, which over 100 people attended. And that was on 10/9. Now, what happened, and we started to do it on a monthly basis, and we had just as many people attend as the first one, and it was becoming really something that people were in need of and looking forward to. But things also started to change, and it changed and was replicated in the world. So from November and December and January, things changed from what we saw was a passion and help for Israel and what they were going through to an absolute switch, like a light switch from words like colonialism, genocide, river to the sea, and marches all over the world. And so that's when this idea, so in January, I started to think, this can't be the way we proceed. And what can I do? And so that's when I contacted Sheryl, and that's when I contacted Yifat, because we've been talking about some ideas that are so different than what Holocaust education, anti-Semitism education has been in the past. And so I wanted to provide that brief introduction of how we got here. And so now, Sheryl, please take it away.
Okay, thank you, Jeffrey. And also to say that Jeffrey is here like literally days after surgery. It's just, he's kind of a miracle. It's almost a miracle. It's unfathomable that you're here doing this at this time. But okay, this is also Hashem. So let me start just by assuring you, and I'm worried like Mark and Jackie are going, oh my God, what are we doing? We will have a discussion at the end, I promise you. Our format's a little different today, so just be patient with us and open your minds and hearts to everything you're about to hear. Okay, let me start with this because Jeffrey has insisted. I do not like introductions, but Jeffrey has forced my hand. So for those who don't know me, my name is Rabbi Sheryl Kamen. Quick, you can call me Sheryl, you can call me Rabbi, you can call me anything you want. Quick background, I'm a retired psychotherapist specializing in clinical neuroscience. While I was doing a bit of slave labor in my doctoral program, I became interested in teaching. I eventually taught courses in doctoral neurobiology, psychopharmacology, differential diagnosis, and a short series called Neurobiology of Addiction. After working in a few clinics, I went into private practice. I had two practices, one in psychotherapy and in applied neuroscience. I worked with many types of clients, but ended up working largely with gifted and talented individuals and people who had previously been misdiagnosed. Over time, I saw places where psychology and even neuroscience hit its limits. Increasingly, I was drawn to rabbinical studies and finally went to seminary and received my smicha several years ago. I led a small congregation / chavara for about 7 years. And now I continue to work with individuals, lead Torah studies, do some basic Hebrew and Judaism teaching, and lead services now and then. Okay, just a reminder, put any questions in the chat, and our lovely Yifat is manning the chat right now. Okay, so open minds, because this is different, open hearts, and here we go. Jeffrey, first slide.
Yep, hold on a second. I just got to share
Oh, Jeffrey is doing the tech side, so I don't fumble around and, you know.
Let me share my screen.
Okay. Take your time. I'll just begin. It's okay. Oh,
Can you see the screen, Cheryl?
I can see you. I think you have your title slide on.
Yep.
Yeah,
No.
that's not the slide. The next slide.
Okay.
All right. All right, let me begin. We're here, as you know, because we're all being affected by intensifying anti-Semitism. Okay, Jeffrey spoke of BEHAG ideas, which he told me means big, hairy, audacious goals. So hopefully we can really open our hearts and minds to some new, maybe audacious ideas. Also, I want you to know that the ideas you're going to hear are not original. I am leaning heavily on the work of Dr. Michael Lightman, Rav Yehuda Ashlag, and several of our sages, especially near the end, and the work of Leo Spiegler, who you will meet in video several times. Okay, what I want you to take away from today's meetings are on that slide. 1, who we are. 2, why we're here. And 3, what we can and are meant to do. Jeffrey. Okay, so let's start with a quick review of what we already know so we can get up to speed to today. Since 1843, when B'nai B'rith, now called the Anti-Defamation League, began its work, there have been organized efforts to counter anti-Semitism. That is 180 years of work against anti-Semitism. To date, efforts have involved Holocaust and pogrom education, education about the timeline of the many attempted genocides of Jews throughout history, education on the value of Jews, that we're at the top of all major professions like science, medicine, economics, entertainment, the arts and music, and that we're highly overrepresented as Nobel Prize laureates, and that the tiny nation of Israel has added more to medicine, science, and technology in its short years than any other country per capita. The United States has put out a 60-page national strategy to counter anti-Semitism, calling on employers and educators to remember Jews in their DEIA efforts and to acknowledge Jewish holidays. So, the $25,000 question, has it worked? Has 180 years of telling people that Jews are the best and the brightest and are simultaneously the world's scapegoats and its greatest and most consistent victims helped us? We're broadcasting these ideas to a world of people that just under the surface, to quote Dara Horn, loves dead Jews. We need a better understanding of why anti-Semitism exists to make effective headway. We all know the prevailing theories, which include Jews are a convenient scapegoat for society's ills, the world is jealous of the Jewish intellect and success, anti-Semitism is taught, children are taught to view Jews as Christ killers or Muhammad rejectors. Then there's Nazi propaganda that lives on and is insidiously passed down by generation. These aren't bad assumptions, but we can immediately see some problems with these theories if we're willing to look. For instance, anti-Semitism existed long before Nazis and World War II, even before World War I. There's an echo, sorry. Maybe if everybody could mute, then it wouldn't come through another speaker. So anti-Semitism existed even before Muhammad and even before Jesus. If you look at the timeline of attempted genocides against us, it will become apparent. The destruction of the first temple, for instance, was some 500 years before Christ. Perhaps the most striking facet about Jew hatred is its irrationality. There are as many reasons for hating Jews as there are people, and Jews are often accused of conflicting crimes. Communists are accused of creating capitalism. Capitalists accused us of creating capitalism. Capitalists accused us of inventing communism. Christians accused Jews of killing Jesus, and acclaimed historian and philosopher Voltaire accused us of inventing Christianity. Jews have been labeled warmongers and cowards, racists and cosmopolitans, spineless and unbending, and the list goes on. Clearly, Jew hatred is irrational and virtually archetypal. Jeffrey. And you can see this is a slide of our expulsions, and it's not even the entirety of our expulsions. It's just this part of the world that you're looking at, and you'll notice that many have multiple dates of Jewish expulsion. When Jews are left alone, our tendency is toward assimilation. Dr. Michael Lightman wrote, at the height of the friendly coexistence between Jews and Christians in Spain, the Inquisition erupted and mercilessly extinguished the Jewish community. For 5 centuries later, when the Jews in Germany were almost completely emancipated and strove to harmoniously integrate into German society, the National Socialist Party came about and exterminated the Jews throughout Europe almost entirely. Today, Jews in host countries around the world, especially in the United States, are facing conditions similar to those of pre-World War II Germany, with aggressively intensifying anti-Semitic violence and hatred on US campuses and throughout society. As we've seen throughout history, the harder Jews try to assimilate, the more painfully we are rejected. So anti-Semitism has been around for almost as long as Jews have been around, and inevitably outside forces either try to kill us or expel us. What if the reason for anti-Semitism is deeper than any of our theories imagined? The videos you'll see today are done by a true expert in the field, whereas I am not an expert. His name is Leo Spiegler. They may be confusing at first, but don't be discouraged by that. By the end, it should all fall into place. Okay, Jeffrey, next slide, and we can hear Leo.
Oh, hold on a second. My mistake.
Okay.
What exactly is the Jewish problem? You think that after 4,000 years of recorded history, we'd have figured out this strange, almost universal hatred of the Jews, but we haven't. And that little problem isn't so little anymore, is it? That innate deadly hostility is exploding around the globe. And if we don't figure it out, it'll trigger a violent self-defense reaction, which is going to destabilize the entire planet, harming everyone in the process. Let's figure it out. Let's take the emotion out of it. Look at things scientifically, empirically. There are facts. So let's consider them. What exactly is the Jewish problem? Is it genocide, their right to self-defense, envy, bigotry, tribalism? No. The problem is that no one, and I mean no one, including the Jews, know what Jews are and what their role is in the world, or that they even have one. Every definition is a contradiction. We have an undefined, identity-conflicted human grouping making up less than 0.02% of the world's population, which somehow manages to draw to itself a disproportionate amount of attention and influence, enough to impact the entire human network and all of its systems, for better and for worse. And we don't really know who they are. What are Jews? And why do we feel about them the way we do? What are Jews to us? Can you forget about religion, cultural attachment, social preferences, just for a moment? Jews are a kind of nation of hubs in their human network, structured so that any major or minor impulse of system development that enters the system has to first go through the hubs, through the Jew function. For that to happen, Jews have to connect in a way that resembles the higher quality of the system where those impulses originate. Sort of quantum love your neighbor as yourself program, a natural inborn grasp of what next steps to take in order to ensure the survival of the system. Chaos and planet-wide problems, a built-in alarm goes off. Every node feels there's something wrong and demands what's missing. Development and well-being are being choked off, and the whole system's in danger. Alarm signals pinging the hubs like, go to work, do something, we're suffering here. The fear that we feel for our survival is simply happening because of our inability to keep up with the accelerating global interdependence that we're already into. So how do we fix that? That was the eureka moment, because now they had a clean and complete data set of a small system, and they could actually see the mechanisms, the forces that make that system collapse or survive, the structure of survival itself. Talking about that makes us squeamish. But look, if we're going to figure it out, we have to stop saying it's not true. It is true. But why? How come? What for?
Thanks, Jeffrey. Thank you. Okay.
What exactly
but why? You got to stop it, Jeffrey. Thank you. I knew that would happen. But why, how come, what for? That is what we're here today to discover. Yehuda Bauer, professor of Holocaust studies at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, believes that anti-Semitism remains latent in almost anyone until it's triggered, usually during crises. The multiple crises we're seeing around the world are therefore expected to continue to exacerbate the wave of anti-Semitism. Thank you for changing the slide. In his book, Concerning the Jews, Mark Twain mused on the hatred of Jews on one hand and their persistence on the other hand. Twain said, the Jews constitute little more than 0.1% of the human race. Currently, that's 0.19%. Properly, the Jews ought hardly to be heard of, but he is heard of, has always been heard of. The Egyptian, the Babylonian, and the Persian rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded to dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and Roman followed and made a vast noise. They are gone. Other people have sprung up and held their torch high for a time, but it burned out. The Jews saw them all, beat them all, and is now what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age, no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies. All things are mortal, but the Jew. Other forces pass away, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? Jeffrey, I think that sound is coming through your system. I don't know if muting would help that or if it's just going through the system, but you could give it a shot.
Right,
And
right.
can you change slides for us? And when you have a chance, I know I'm asking a lot of you, just change the slide when you have a chance. Oh, you did it. Okay. As Haman told King Ahasuerus, these Jews are not found in any one location or boundary. They're scattered all over, yet they keep their own laws. Jews are an unusual group. We don't fit neatly into any one category. We're different. Jews exert a disproportionate amount of influence in the world, draw a disproportionate amount of attention, come from many races, many ethnicities, many nations, remain at all times the smallest of any consistent population on earth, and yet seem to survive against all odds, while great empires rise and fall. At our greatest number, we're less than 0.2% of the population. Mathematically, that amounts to about 1 Jew for every 510 people on Earth right now. A computer nerd somewhere found out that when he plotted the Jewish population over the population of the world, and then tried to factor in qualitative variables like the disproportionate amount of influence Jews have in the world, the way Jews tend to arouse heightened responses, both positive and negative, in people around them, the disproportionate standing Jews have in almost all professions, most importantly, those that exert influence on world change, such as science, media, and entertainment, medicine, etc., they came up with a very interesting picture and pattern that resembled patterns seen in nature. Jeffrey? Thank you. At this point, I think we've heard a lot, and the brain needs a little rest to digest. I'm going to ask you to sit back and relax your brain for a few minutes and indulge me by allowing me to read you a short story. So, if you feel comfortable, please take a slow, deep breath, close your eyes, sit back and relax while you listen to the story of a few unlikely characters. Ooh. Once upon a forest floor, beneath a canopy of towering trees, there thrived a bustling community hidden from the eyes of most creatures. This community wasn't made of furry animals or fluttering insects, but of tiny organisms known as fungi. Among them, the mycelium network reigned supreme. At the heart of this network lay the hub, a grand old mushroom named myco. Myco was wise and ancient, with tendrils of mycelium spreading far and wide beneath the soil. From myco's central hub, connections branched out like delicate threads, linking to countless nodes scattered throughout the forest. Myco was so old, so ancient, and there were so few hubs like him in the forest compared to the many nodes, that Myco forgot he was a hub. He forgot his purpose, his job, and he began to think he was a node like all the others he saw. So he acted like the nodes and was content enough. Each node was a humble fungus, from mushrooms to molds, each with its own role to play in the intricate dance of the forest ecosystem. Some were decomposers, breaking down fallen leaves and fallen trees, returning nutrients to the soil. Others formed symbiotic relationships with the roots of trees, exchanging nutrients for sugars in a delicate balance of give and take. One day, a young mushroom named Mia found herself at a crossroads, unsure of what she was meant to do. She sought guidance from Myco, the wise hub, but Myco had long since lost his wisdom and forgotten his purpose, and had little help to offer Mia. And Myco wasn't alone. Other ancient hubs had also forgotten and were living their lives as big nodes. Unfortunately, the hubs were meant to do many jobs to nourish and sustain the nodes. Over time, without the hubs acting as hubs, the mycelium network began to break down. There was hunger and competition. Many of the nodes ceased doing their jobs as well, which of course affected the trees until entire forests were in decay. With the forest declining, there were fewer fruits and leaves dropping in the soil, so the hubs were getting less to eat, and in turn, the nodes had little nourishment and began to merely exist rather than thrive. One day, a large hub named Mushroom Moisha surveyed the dystopian world and cried aloud, "What went wrong? How did this happen? Who can fix this?" Suddenly, Moisha heard a voice rumbling like distant thunder. "Moisha, you are a small but critical part of a vast network. Embrace your role, for even the tiniest node plays a crucial part in the harmony of the forest. How much greater is the role of a hub that helps support and nourish 500 nodes?" These words echoed in Mushroom Moisha's cap, and he set out to help other hubs discover their place in the mycelium network. Moisha remembered who he was and what he was meant to do. He was a hub, not a node. He was meant to help the nodes and to bring them all the goodness of the forest. Moisha woke Myco, and Myco too remembered. Together, they tried to tell the other hubs, but most wouldn't hear of it. They enjoyed being nodes, but here and there, another hub would remember. And together, they slowly woke the rest as they helped and supported each other to go back to their original purpose. Moisha, Myco, and even little Mia learned that the strength of the mycelium network lay not in any one hub or node, but in the connections between them. And when the hubs had strong connections to each other, the entire forest thrived. Working together, the hubs and nodes created a resilient, interconnected web between the forest floor. With all the hubs engaged and acting as hubs, the nodes and hubs once again enjoyed abundance and were at peace, and the forests of the world flourished. The end. And if your eyes were closed, you can open them. So that was a fictional story about the very real mycelium network, a critical network to planet Earth, which uses hubs and nodes. Hub and node networks are used in cyber science, transportation and delivery network sciences, economics, and other man-made sciences because they're intuitive to us, because we are actually made of hub and node networks, which exist all throughout nature. Bacteria form hub and node networks. Fish form networks. Eusocial insects like ants and bees also do. Swarming insects like locusts do, and bird societies like starlings also work according to network science. But networks don't stop at the macro level. Internal biological systems work in accordance with hub and node networks. Even gut and neural networks in our brains are hub and node networks. But when the hubs aren't working properly, the system suffers, and the environment, the nodes intuitively know, even if only subconsciously, they have to pressure the hubs to get going. I'm going to let Leo describe a little bit more. If you can do the next slide, Jeffrey.
Any scalable network that can communicate with all of its parts within 6 or fewer degrees is called a small world. And it can become extremely efficient, massively efficient, and grow in quantity and complexity if it's made of nodes and hubs, and only if the number of hubs and nodes fit into a special ratio. The math goes something like this. What this formula exposes is the degree distribution in any scale-free system. It lets us look right into something that used to be hidden. It changed the way we look at things, and what we see is truly miraculous. Scale-free, small world networks are everywhere. Superclusters, solar systems, the molecular structure of proteins, the building blocks of matter itself. In fact, everything around us is made this way, and it even does this through us. Consciously, subconsciously, the electrical grid in the US, the international airport structure, the highway system, the international businesses, even the structure of the internet and social media, everything falls within the parameters of this formula. Lots of nodes, very few hubs seem to be the best, most efficient way to make and maintain any complex system in our reality. You see, here's the thing. Nodes are the elements of the system. Its residents, everything that happens in the system happens for the well-being of the nodes, the individual and collective development of the network. Hubs, on the other hand, are hyper-connected nodes that do the critical function of passing information and resources throughout the system in the fastest, most efficient way possible. This is what makes the system survive, because it's able to respond holistically and instantaneously to any need or challenge. A system can lose a lot of nodes as long as the minimum hub-to-node ratio remains the same. But as soon as the number of hubs drop below the ratio, you get system breakdown. If enough of the relatively small number of hubs are destroyed, or for some reason weaken at their function, the system fails and collapses. What does that have to do with us and the Jews?
Okay, gotta stop it, Jeffrey. Thank you. Okay, so a system without hubs will break down. We got that. I just want to remind you, nope, you gotta stop it. Thank you. Just to keep an open mind, keep your hearts and minds open. I know it's a little bit different, but we'll get there, and I think you'll get it. In our time, and Jeffrey wanted me to add this in because he felt like it was important. In our time, when many are concerned with brain diseases like dementia or Parkinson's, it might be of interest to know that in 2014, a neuroscience review was published citing the discovery that in global brain disorders, so those that affect the entire brain, like in dementia and Parkinson's, it's the highly connected hub regions that are preferentially affected. In many neurological disorders, the most consistent changes concern a breakdown of the hierarchical structure, in particular, a loss of highly connected hub regions, a loss of hubs. So here we see it again. Without enough hubs, any system, micro or macro, biological or sociological, breaks down. Consider this. Every nation or empire that has come against us ends up falling. They have to pick themselves up and start again and are never again giant empires, or they just don't exist anymore. We very correctly attribute this phenomenon to God, of course, but God uses vehicles. He used evolution as a vehicle for creation. In any system in nature that functions through networks, when enough hubs are destroyed, the entire system breaks down. With no intervention, it collapses. Every time we're attacked and our population suffers significant losses, the surrounding environment falls. Their system collapses. So what does this have to do with us and anti-Semitism? The success of the network of humanity is contingent upon the work of the network's hubs. When that work isn't being done sufficiently, an alarm internal to the system goes off, and the nodes intuitively know if they are to survive and have quality of life, they have to wake the sleeping nodes. Jews have never been allowed to isolate in a land. Whenever the system grew, Jews were scattered. And we're always put in a position of responsibility to others, where we spread resources and ideas like Joseph, Moses, and Daniel. And even today, the Jews dominate in fields that inform and connect us. But almost none of us know who we are. The hubs are sleeping and can barely maintain the growing system. If you'll allow me, let's watch one last video of Leo. Jeffrey.
Where do these impulses come from anyway? Since we're always evolving and complexifying, it appears that the human network exists and is expanding in a system of higher quality that we're constantly growing into. A more inclusive aspect of nature that manages the system below it, much like a brain manages the body and all its organs. And so what are nature's messages? Well, they're the same in all scale-free networks. Connect and make whole. Nature evolves its parts to handle more connection, making them more useful to the system and able to receive much more benefit from each enhancement. And according to the new science, connection aimed at greater states of unity may be the prime directive of the system. Well, at least that's what hubs are supposed to do. But when they don't, or when they act like nodes, a built-in alarm goes off. Every node feels there's something wrong and demands what's missing. The nodes, the Gentile function, unconsciously sense that development and well-being are being choked off and the whole system's in danger. These responses are autonomic, mechanical. The Gentile function is triggered by the system to send alarm signals, pinging the hubs, like, go to work, do something, we're suffering here. In the human system, this takes the form of demand and anger aimed at the Jews. I mean, hatred that outwardly seems completely irrational, but inwardly is totally justified. It's anti-Semitism. That's what's going on right now. Chaos and planet-wide problems. The fear that we feel for our survival is simply happening because of our inability to keep up with the accelerating global interdependence that we're already into. It simply demands a higher form of unity with greater intensity from the hubs. Otherwise, there is no future. Otherwise, we're unable to develop the ideas that we need in order to steer the system into a higher state of organization. That's what we need to do. So how do we fix that? Let me paint you a picture. Unity is the prime directive. Every time we hit a crossroads, it's immediately met by subconscious system-wide directive to unite. Now, this unity can happen in one of two ways. If unity is initiated by the cohesive function, the Jew function, we expand through free will. Voluntary agreement coming from the concern for all the parts. Progress, we get an enhancement of quality and sustainability. But if the expansive function moves towards unity first, we get empires. National unity based on force, pitting race and religion against each other. An expansion of quantity, fascism, war, genocide. Yeah, let's look at genocide. The whole point of having hubs in the system in the first place is to evolve nodes into hubs. No matter how powerful or legitimate the claim is against a faltering Jew function, Genocide simply can't work. It's impossible to fix the problem of underperforming hubs by destroying them. It makes the system collapse. Just look at the history book to see what happened in the places that try that. Hubs cannot be replaced en masse, or really at all, because hubs are how nature evolves nodes to become hubs. Get it? And what would we replace them with? Gentile and Jew functions aren't self-appointed roles, they're products of natural structures. Any group of nodes that would imagine it could work in some other way that opposes how nature works just plain isn't a hub. That's why there are always Jews, and that's what Jews are to us.
Thanks, Jeffrey. All right. All right, one more time. We, the Jews, and those with similar inclinations are humanity's hubs. Or put another way, a nation of priests whose purpose is to act as a conduit, drawing light from above for the world. We are meant to interface, if you will, with the Creator, panim b'panim, face to face, to bring his light to the nations. That's the job. We're not just chosen people. We don't get a crown and scepter. We were chosen to do a job as the firstborn, God's Bechori, firstborn. But you know what? You don't have to think even in religious terms. You can think in scientific terms or in terms of nature. Remember that internal system that goes off through the system of internal alarm that goes off through the system of nodes, screaming danger, go wake the hubs. In life, that looks like anger, hate, attacks, in a word, anti-Semitism. It seems counterintuitive because to kill us is automatically to kill the surrounding system. Yet every time they come against us, what happens? We unite. We come together like we're supposed to. The problem is we haven't quite figured out what's next, but we're almost there. Okay, so if we can begin to accept the concept that if we become what we were meant to be, anti-Semitism will have served its purpose. Its purpose being to put pressure on the external vessel and push us like the sides of a womb, pressuring a baby to egress. In our case, to unify, connect between us and evolve. If we can accept this premise, our next question is how to make it happen, because it's not magic. It takes time, effort, and willingness, and it's not easy. So how do we do it? What's our solution? Our segula. It's no coincidence that the word Jew in Hebrew, Yehud, comes from the word ichud or achidut, meaning unity or union. Strange as it sounds, the segula, the remedy, really is unity and connection between us. The great rabbis taught us that among the lessons of Parashat Ki Tavo, the covenant of Arvut Hadadit, mutual responsibility, is commanded of us. We are connected to each other and responsible for one another. Connection between us at a spiritual level, above day-to-day concerns, above conflicts, above disagreements. This level of connection creates a vessel between us. It makes us a conduit. Jeffrey, last slide. Some scientists are now calling, that is not the slide.
I'll get you there.
What happened?
I'll get you there. 1 second.
Okay, that's all right. That's okay. I'm just going to talk. Nope, that's not it. Nope.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Some scientists are now calling humanity a superorganism. The truth is that just like aspen trees are actually all one tree from one root structure, humanity is also one organism. Are you able to pull it up, Jeffrey?
I'll try.
Okay. We need to find ways to fully realize our oneness. As he is one, we are one. And the reason I wanted you to see the slide is because when you look at that slide, it just looks very much like one organism. When enough of us work toward connection, live as one in the heart. What's up?
I'm struggling. So just keep talking.
Okay.
These impulses come from anyway.
I can't get it.
Maybe
Always
you can't get it.
No.
Can you mute?
Just go ahead and keep speaking.
Yeah, that's because you used that slide.
There it is.
Oh, you got it?
Mhm.
Okay, good for you. All right. Bottom line, when we start living this way, connected in the heart, the theory of critical mass will take over. We won't have to convince anyone of anything. Critical mass, you all know what that is, in any field, be it biology, economics, philosophy, or physics, is the same. Once we hit a critical mass, the scales tip and it spreads like wildfire. There are many methods. There are many methods to help us achieve this, like Jeffrey loves connection circles, and also engaging in deeper levels of tikkun and mitzvot, studying Torah and engaging it in pardes. And there are many techniques, but I think this is a lot to digest for today. So if you're interested, we can talk more about what it really means to connect and methods of achieving that another time. For now, I want to end by answering those first three questions that I asked at the beginning. Who are we? We are humanity's hubs. Why are we here? To become a conduit between the creator and the world. What can we do? We can connect at a spiritual level. How to do that is something we should talk about going forward. This is the beginning, and if you're interested, we'll have more to come. Thank you for listening, and I think we're opening for discussion and questions.
I want to ask you one question. I'll take the first question. You can hear me okay?
Of course.
Okay. I'd like you to share with the audience how you got to where you are today and how you've presented this concept to people who you've presented to. So I think it's important to allow them some visibility to the numbers of people you've presented this to, who they were.
Okay. I did do some work with what we're calling connection circles, or I call them round tables. I have learned it. I told you I learned some of that from Rabbi Rav Michael Lightman, some of it from other people. I read. I also know that intuitively, I know what we're doing, all the fighting that we're doing, all the education we're doing, it's not working. That became very obvious to me, painfully obvious, but we're still doing it. That's called accommodation, more of the same thing. And anti-Semitism is getting worse and worse and worse. And we're doing more of the same thing we've been doing for over 180 years. So let me just tell you something about connection circles. And we have 4 people at least here who are ringers. I have to tell you, they all know. So anything you want to add, jump on in. So these circles, I have seen some amazing stuff. I've seen people come together, and I saw it even in my congregation. I've seen people come together that literally had the most disparate views, opposite views, anger behind the views, intensity behind the views. And the wonderful thing about this particular method is that you can keep all that. Nobody's telling you to get rid of it. Nobody wants you to. You can keep your view. We don't have to connect at that level. We don't have to connect at the level of the mind. We want to go above that. I know Iva's smiling, and I really hope she says something. We want to go above that to the level of spirituality. We connect up there. And I've seen things just melt away, and people just literally almost fall in love with each other and walk away as different human beings. It doesn't happen sometimes right away. Sometimes it happens after a whole bunch of them, and sometimes it doesn't. But I have seen, I mean, this is, to me, that's a beautiful method. I'm going to tell you, they're not using it anymore. I've spoken with Leo. They're no longer using it with, except for with Jews. They were doing it in the community, and they're no longer doing it. So.
Okay, so why don't we open up our discussion to the audience? Yifat, you may have questions in chat that you'll take first. I'm going to switch the screen a little bit here. Just
there's no question in the chat. There's just one lady who had to leave, and she left her. She would love to connect, and she left some. People can read about Kesher Shalom, which is an organization that have similar views, and they would love to cooperate. So we can read about it in the chat, and there's also details for connection. So we can perhaps show it later. But it's not a question, actually. So.
Well, and also this was billed as a brainstorming session, which, you know, concerned me, Jeffrey. And so I believe people came with their own ideas and their own, you know, desire to brainstorm and to talk about what they wanted to. So this would be a good time for that too.
So the obvious way to do that is to raise your hand or click your reactions button. And the first.
Can I ask a question? I have a question. I mean, everything that we just talked about, is this new to you guys? Is this old? Are you like trying to digest it? Where are you at with it?
Who wants to be the first to answer that?
New. Gabby says new to me.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Oh no, I sound like a therapist. But how do you feel about it?
Sheryl, now I see that's not really a question, there's a comment. Perhaps you want to comment too, just before Gabby. You can read it. It seems to me about the Palestinians. Would you like to react to that?
Can you read it? I can't.
Yeah, it seems to me that the Palestinians are using the concept of critical mass when they're using their lies by having a large number of people presenting their information over and over until everyone believes it. Maybe we should do this with information that is real.
You know what, Jeffrey, you sent that video to us. That's exactly what that was about. That remember the video you sent us, that Palestinians are doing this thing where it's a lot of people saying just a few things, and Jews are a little people saying a lot of different things, and we need to become, you know, people who are just saying the same thing over and over. And if you ask me, I mean, maybe I'm not, okay. I don't know what the one thing or two or 10 things you want to say, or three things, probably something about Israel, but also something about who we are and what we need to do. That would be me. I don't believe, having seen the world, I do not believe that anything is going to change. I think it's going to worsen until Jews do their job.
Sheryl,
that's simple.
Abe, I'm glad you're here. You raised your hand. So why don't you take the mic and ask your question or comment?
I thought it was an interesting philosophy. I also think, and my parents were Holocaust survivors. I think a lot of the verbiage, I think right now, the two words I get like uncomfortable with is Holocaust, because it's something that people deny, and genocide, which has now been co-opted by this war. And we were the victims of both, you know, as Jews. So I think, especially, see, everyone that's here, we're all either second generation or that age group. But what your findings are, Sheryl, is critical for young people to understand. And how are we going to get to that community? And how, if it's a spiritual movement that becomes something that we as people, as nodes, have to kind of rally towards. I mean, it's a huge order. And I think it's interesting because it doesn't sound like traditional, you know, go to temple and go shul and all the words that are now representative of also, and this is no judgment, but the Orthodox community of the Jewish religion is making a lot of people uncomfortable, even regular, you know, assimilated Jews, because they're the ones that are getting attacked most. And you see that in the news. It's the frum that are being the victims by I mean, it's all horrible. And I've spent my whole life now, these past few years, trying to, since the Nazis were marching in Charlottesville, it's been, my whole world has turned upside down in a good way, because I'm using creativity to communicate what it's like being a child of that war. And, you know, how do we tell stories to remind everybody what happened without the usual verbiage, you know? And things like music are good ways to communicate that, and art and theater. And that is how, when you see, there's that play that was just on Broadway, the French something, I forget the name of it, but it tells the story of what's going on in France around 2017, around the time that you know, America was starting to sound extremely anti-Semitic. And
So wait, I want to address your point. When I first brought this program to the group in February, I made a commitment to building technology around this idea. It isn't really designed, and I don't want to say this disrespectfully, to our population age bracket, because we're already there. We're biased. We're not giving it up. But what we have to do is to come to the screens of our youth. And I have specific expertise on how to do that. And I am committing my own resources. I'm not asking anybody else to help me to create technology that will be available. And this program that's been recorded will be the first step in a 2024 to 2025 and beyond program. And if you are interested, and many of you are already part of, there is its own Facebook community called One Revolution, which I'll be happy to share the link in chat. We already have close to 100 members who've signed up without any kind of just organically. And this is probably the base of which a lot of people here have found out about this program. So I am taking the effort personally to put screens together that will reach the age of K-5 through young adult, and to push back and to bring the ideas that Sheryl is championing. We wanted you to see it. We want to talk about it today, but those ideas are going to be kind of segued into more of a digestible way of discussing this with our youth so that they can understand. Now, I also have done a significant amount of research, and what we haven't really, and Jews in authority, and I'm not one of them because I just started this just a few years ago, but we have dropped a major ball because the Arab states have committed trillions upon trillions of dollars to secondary and college education, to bringing their message for a price. And that price is what you're seeing in Congress happening during this time when I talked to, this January to March period has been amazing. So Sheryl wanted to respond, but I wanted to give you a direct answer from a technology standpoint, because that's what I do. That's my whole career. And I know what I'm doing in this area. And I hope that the proof in some of the pudding is how I'm putting these programs together and getting people to show up. So if I can get you to show up, my hope is I can get other people to show up. And Sheryl, if you have a comment, otherwise Jackie raised her hand.
Well, I do have a comment, only because I love what you said, Abe, actually. I really did. And I appreciated it. And it goes along, Gabby put something in the chat saying that, huh?
Yeah,
No?
I just wanted to mention you saw. Yeah, good. You saw it. I
Okay.
just wanted to mention
Yeah,
that,
just that she was wondering that this was an interesting concept, but how do we basically deliver it to people who are very convinced about what they're seeing in the news? First of all, I want to just say what Jeffrey is saying, you guys have a big input. I mean, you all have tremendous ideas. And I think that Jeffrey he has a platform. Take your ideas to that platform, make sure they're heard and bring them, because those are the ones that everybody needs to hear. I really believe that. And I've heard you guys talk before, and I know what you have. Gabby, I want to just say to you, and maybe also oh, by the way, we're not nodes, we're hubs. We're hubs. But okay, so Gabby, we don't need to, this is kind of the beauty of this sort of concept. We have tried to convince people of what we want them to know for many years. It doesn't work. We can't, not anybody. But this idea just of understanding who we are at any level. I mean, if you're from, maybe you understand at the level of we're a nation of priests and what was commanded of Moses. If you're Reformed, maybe you want to understand at the level of this is what nature is, somebody, or what science is, who knows? But all Jews can understand this at however they want to understand it. And nobody has to be convinced of anything. That's the beauty. If half of the Jews in the world say, we need to cease fire, the news is correct, you know, that fine, doesn't matter. We're not in it to force anybody to change their mind. We're in it to make Jews one and to make Jews a conduit, so that once that starts to happen, that's what we're meant to be. I mean, I am based in the Torah, so you'll have to excuse me. This is what the Torah tells us. Once that happens, we're not even going to know anti-Semitism anymore. The world's going to change.
Jackie?
Yeah, thank you all, and thank you for this extraordinary presentation, because I have to not apologize, but I have to say that when I was involved at the beginning with the One Revolution, I probably did not understand exactly the theme and the track that you wanted to develop. And you clarified that a lot for me. As a second point, we have used by the speakers today so many words, so many expressions, so many situations. And I wonder, is the One Revolution will have, or already has, or will have one of these objectives about, let me use the simple word, fighting or combating anti-Semitism. If we also want, if it's part of it, the many words were used about together, about reunion, about Hashem, about, but do we have time, or do we have to act fast? Can we use, in terms of education, the word hate? The words together is definitely one of them. And I'm Abe, I suppose it's your first name, saying Holocaust education and genocide, we have to be careful about it. And I agree, even if I think we have to elaborate Holocaust education. And for me, to close, and I hope I will do more thinking, is if we take the education as we provided in the past or as we provided today, if we evaluate it, if we say, how do we correct it? And if we say, when we have implemented that, how do we now act? I want to illustrate that by something that I heard by Jonathan Greenblatt. As you know, Jonathan Greenblatt is the executive director of the ADL. And I'm listening to and watching a lot of organizations and Zoom and webinars about our situation of today. And he was talking about the situation in the university. And that became very powerful in my head. He said, we have the freedom of speech. We can say whatever you want. But we have the freedom of being a listener and to hear. Instead of having all those protests anywhere in universities, why universities don't develop a zone for protest? And the one who wants to listen to it, the ones to be in opposition of it, will be. But it does restrain the impact at the level of the university. I hope I was clear. You say, instead of letting the kids getting into the classrooms and the one who wants to listen cannot listen, let's have a zone. And that drives me to one point, and I want to finish there, if not I can talk forever, is, can we create actions similar to that to fight anti-Semitism and to combat anti-Semitism? And Abe, again, not directly only to you, I am working and with Jeffrey and with Jewish Culture and Holocaust Remembrance, a program that I called We Are the Tree of Life, when we deal all of those issues with arts, with performing arts. And over time.
We have two Mark, and I'll go to Mark Lavey first, and then Mark Newhouse second. So please unmute and speak.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for all joining this very interesting discussion. I will be wearing three hats at the same time. I am an Israeli. I'm an American journalist. And my parents are Holocaust survivors. So here I am. And it may explain some of the reactions I had to the presentation, which are, how shall I say, a bit unpleasant. And I apologize in advance. I got the impression from some of the visuals that the folks who are putting this together have an idea that anti-Semitism is our fault. We created them, said one phrase in a slide. And I'm wondering if really, as the expert who is walking through various places seemed to think that we can just define anti-Semitism away. I find that absurd. And I have to admit, I'm deeply affected by what happened on October 7th. I haven't gotten over it, probably never will. And I'm a guy who went through Yom Kippur in 72, 73. I was broadcasting 18 times a day on Israel radio. And yet, my reactions to things are definitely colored by what happened just 4 months ago. And again, as I say, if I'm being too harsh, I apologize in advance. Someone said that the word for Jew comes from the word for unity. It doesn't. One has a hey, one has a chet, and I'm all in favor of Jewish unity, but throughout history we've never had it. I can't imagine how we would all of a sudden be able to do it, and I am really troubled by the concept that if we just do a few things right and fix what we've been doing wrong for 2,000 years, then it'll all go away. Folks, anti-Semitism has...
What's going to make it go
You can
away,
talk
Mark?
when I'm done. I'll be done very soon. I'll be done very soon, okay? You had at least 20 minutes to talk. Now you'll give me 2. Thank you. Anti-Semitism has existed for 2,000 years, not for 200, not for 100, not for 20. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be at our throats. What we're witnessing now, I believe Jeffrey pointed out, is a failure of our ability to counter it. I'm suggesting, since this is supposed to be a collection of new ideas, I'm suggesting we give up on our generation. We give up on the generation after ours, and even the third generation after ours, and we start trying to educate young children. I know that this is yet another idea to educate people and stuff, but I don't think we can really, certainly not trade ideas among ourselves on Facebook. That's a waste of time. It's not a waste of time. It gives us the internal strength to realize that we're not alone, and to boost each other up is a very good thing. I apologize for what I just said. But to concentrate our limited resources on a target audience that maybe can still be saved, and that's the kids. How we do that, there are lots of people here who probably know it better than I do. And the other thing I'd suggest is something that's a bit off the wall. There was there's a chat here asking the question about the Palestinians are repeating their lies all over the world, and how can we get a message out when all we do is tell the truth? Well, I've got an idea. Maybe it's time for someone to unofficially set up an operation that floods the internet with lies that will damage the other side. Okay? Fire with fire. And then some of our computer experts, maybe Jeffrey, maybe you'd be the best one for this. I wouldn't ever put it on your plate officially, to set up a bunch of bots and take over some of these poisonous outlets, TikTok, whatever. A lot of the stuff you see on TikTok and a lot of the stuff you see on X, formerly Twitter, is not real. Well, why aren't we doing that? This is war, folks. This is war. And the only I'll end with with a little joke, I think. I'm an Orthodox Jew. That's my fourth cap. So of course I'm influenced by the Torah more than practically anything else. But the idea that we can determine what God has in mind for us and then implement it somehow out there in the world, and that will fix everything, reminds me of the joke about the two goldfish swimming around the bowl. And one goldfish says to the other, you know what? I've decided I don't believe in God. And the other one says, oh yeah, wise guy? Who changes the water? All yours, Jeffrey.
Okay, I'm going to, Cheryl, I don't even want you to comment.
Well, I
Just-
just want to say that, first of all, Mark, you answered my question. And I also want to say, I'm not offended. I'm surprised more people aren't saying the same thing.
And
I
think,
felt exactly the same way when I first started reading and learning about all this, just to say.
okay,
Can I comment shortly?
I'm asking you for a comment. You read my mind, and then we'll get to Mark. But I think Mark, the way he's shaking his head on agreement with Mark, before you do, I want to have Mark Newhouse come in, because then we can package those two. It's better than one. And then we can hear from you, Mark, as well. So before you comment, Yifat, before you comment, Cheryl, I want to get Mark in this too.
Yeah, okay. First of all, I'm very pragmatic. I always have been. I was an elementary school teacher, and I guess I should tell you, for those of you who don't know me, that I was born 2 years and 1 day after Mom was freed from Auschwitz in Germany. So I guess I have a very vested interest in our survival. However, okay, I get the feeling sometimes that we're so stuck on the I don't know, the esoterics, that we're not getting to the pragmatics. I've already sent to Jeffrey a thing I started working on right away called an action plan, okay, about hate. And this is, I think, that a very important point, which is we separate anti-Semitism from hate. And we talk about the Holocaust a lot. And as much as the Holocaust affected me, it's old news to kids today if they know about it at all. As I've said in previous meetings, when I was a sixth grade teacher, it was at the end of the year. And if I didn't put it up near the front of the year, it never got taught. Okay. So the first thing I've done is I think we have to be practical. All right. I think at this point, most of our meeting has been preaching to the choir. And it has not been really that practical for me. And again, Sheryl, I'm not criticizing what you're saying. I'm very open-minded. But I would like to get to pragmatics. Okay. So as I said, I've created an action plan, which I'd be willing to share with everybody, and which I've shared with Jeffrey, because I'm looking for input. The second thing I've done is written a children's book, which I'm going to give away for free, about hate and anti-Semitism. But again, the key word there is anti-Semitism is part of what I call hate. Okay. One of the things that I also want to address is why so much propaganda today is successful. It's very interesting, really, because, you know, Sheryl, you were talking about the Jews as being among the brightest and among the best. That's the old idea of the chosen people. Well, what's interesting is the Palestinians are using a different kind of strategy. They're displaying themselves as the underdogs. And you know what? Our kids love underdogs. That's the whole idea of David and Goliath. So when you say to me education doesn't work, I got to disagree. Education does work when it addresses the issue of not preaching to the choir, evaluating, as Mark said, I believe, what we're doing in the past, and being practical and saying, okay, the idea is not to unite. with one philosophy, one idea. The idea is to be open-minded to many approaches and not to spend a lot of time talking about, the idea that we all have to be spiritual, but the idea that we have to find practical ways to reach children. And one last point, and then I'll stop, okay? Because I don't want to be dominating this conversation. I'm a big believer in the story of the one starfish. For those of you who don't know it, okay? An old man's walking along the beach and he's picking up starfish, okay? And he's throwing them in the water. And some kid comes across and says, hey, you're just wasting your time. All those starfish, they're dying. What are you bothering with them for? And the guy says, I saved one. If we can change the mind of one person who's not a member of the choir, we will have accomplished something. And that is how a hub should think about the nodes. We should be thinking about how to take our ideas, find successful ways under Jeffrey's leadership, but find practical things we can do to change one mind. And if we each change one mind, not preach to the choir, then I think we have woken up, we have done our job as hubs. So thanks very much for allowing me the time.
So I want to ask this question respectfully. How many of the people that I'm seeing on screen with a hand raise have children? So raise your hands. Okay. How many of those children are also your grandchildren? Raise your hands. So to make the point which I said to Abe originally, and which I'm saying to you, Mark, and I'm saying to you, Mark Lavie, you are absolutely correct. Who is in this screen is not our target audience. 20,000 people who are in our community is not our target audience. However, those who have just raised their hands are, because they directly are the hubs to reach their children and their grandchildren. And that is the approach that I have from a technical vision to be able to bring this idea, who we all know and can comment good ideas, bad ideas. And yes, I want all of these ideas. And the platform that I plan to build is an umbrella platform that could emphasize all ideas. But the ideas have to be mission critical, and that is K-5 through young adult. And the fastest way and the least expensive, which I don't have the money to be able to do a social media campaign or to fight with bots, nor do I have any inclination to be poisonous in that way. I deal with the positive, I deal with strength, I deal with power of intention. And all of us in the 20,000 community that I have built since 2021 has a destiny. And that destiny is to teach our children and our grandchildren as a defense against anti-Semitism. And I'll stop. So Judith, you have your next question. You were next, and then I'm going to come to you, Lori, as the next.
When can I comment?
Not yet. We want everything first.
I hold my tongue.
Well, I should preface what I'm saying by telling you that I had developed a program, a group counseling model for children and adolescents.
Judith, tell us a little bit about who you are and your with what you do.
I'm a clinical psychologist, and as a result of developing this program, I had a presidential appointment to be on the National Advisory Council for Department of Health and Human Services, the branch that takes care of providing mental health and substance abuse services to the whole country, which is called SAMHSA. And so I was going back and forth to Washington for 7 years, but it was all because of a program that started out with a program that I developed, which was a group counseling model it's structured, and it's for the prevention of destructive behaviors. So my group program was, I trained people, many counselors, hundreds and hundreds of counselors, and funding was given to several states to implement the program. Of course, what ends up happening is that those states use the funding for their day-to-day operations instead of doing my program, but that's the way life goes. So, but I even trained in Israel in the Ministry of Education. I trained the top psychologists and social workers with this model. So the model exists, and there's a training video and stuff, but actually anyone could implement it with a book chapter that I have listed on academia.edu, and it's Solutions Unlimited Now SUN program. So as you could see from what I've been doing, I have made whatever efforts I could possibly make to try to help children and adolescents learn how to work together, to empathize with each other, to help them solve their problems in a good, positive, productive environment. Well, of course, there's manpower is involved in this, which means you have to have a guidance counselor or somebody from the school that will sit with them and lead them. And the training is minimal. Most of what was done in Florida, hundreds and hundreds of children were involved in this in Orlando, and they were bachelor's level people that were working on a hotline, went into the schools and did the program, and it worked tremendously. And there was a lot of pushback in the beginning. Oh, you can't put kids in these groups. They're just gonna get, you know, high-risk kids, because they did all high-risk kids for the groups, and they can't do it. The group will break down. Well, I proved all them wrong. The groups were working wonderfully because they're structured a certain way to guide the children into how they should interact with each other. So I just want to bring that to everybody so you see the context from which I come and all the struggles I've gone through for many, many years trying to help children and adolescents, and not from the perspective of just one religion or one point of view, but from the perspective of a universal point of view of reaching out to each other's humanity and helping each other and bonding together in a positive way. So having said all that, I do want to say that I had some also reactions to what was being presented, because the minute I heard hub and node, well, isn't that why they hate us? Because we're the hubs and they're the node. I mean, right away, I thought, here we go again with, oh, we're better, we're the hubs. Now, I might think that, okay? I'm not saying I don't think it deep down inside, that I have something special inside me because I'm Jewish. And the rabbis will tell you that that's really part of why people hate us. They see the specialness, they see everything. Why does everybody want Jerusalem? Why does everybody want the Temple Mount? Because they think that's the center of the whole universe and it's where the power resides. So they want it and we have it. Okay, so they want to kill us. Now, but there's something more at stake here. Why is anti-Semitism rising to such an extent? Well, right now in the global community, there's some very pragmatic, you want a pragmatic, Mark? Well, something very pragmatic is happening, which is that right now, Qatar controls all of Europe because they provide the gas for all of Europe. And who provides the pipeline for the gas? Turkey. Everyone in Europe is controlled by Qatar and Turkey. And who funds Harvard and everybody? Qatar. Who's funding all the anti-Semitism? Qatar. Who owns half of London? Qatar. Okay, so what's going on? Israel now has the gas reserves to supply all of Europe. They are building a pipeline which will be shorter and faster and more economical than the pipeline that Turkey controls. So Israel, they want to go with Greece and Cyprus to do this, and they started the pipeline. So what's going to happen? The whole world order is going to change because the Arabs in Qatar, and they want to take over all of Europe. They keep sending in all these people to take over Europe and turn it into a jihadist revolution. The revolution is they wanted to, it's like what happened in Constantinople with Saladin, who's going to take over Europe and turn them all into Muslims. Well, that's what they've been trying to do. If Israel comes in with a new pipeline and the gas, It's going to stop all of that. So there's this gigantic upheaval in the Arab world. And in fact, President Biden stopped the pipeline temporarily, hopefully. I mean, they're going to get it through when we get a new president. Anyway, he stopped the pipeline that Israel was building because probably everything was blowing up about it. And so he had to stop it. Now, but they can't stop it ultimately. It's going to change the world order. Okay, so I'm bringing this in because we have to look at the whole global situation. It's complicated enough to say they hate us, this, that, we're hubs, we're nodes. Okay, but there's something else going on that's much bigger and very important, and we have to factor that in to the equation. And that's it. That's what I have to say.
Can I make a quick correction? Because people, no, I just need to correct some things that people have heard. First of all, we're not better. Hubs make nodes. That's part of the job of hubs. Everyone will be a hub. Everyone in the world will actually be the same. That's number one. So we're not better. Number two, when I first heard this, that was the first thing I said was what Mark said was, oh my God, this is blaming the victim. Until I really understood it and realized this is the exact opposite of blaming the victim. This is actually empowering the victim. This is saying you actually can change this, and we have always had it in our hands. This is not our fault. How can it be the fault of someone who literally has no knowledge of this, no memory of this? It's not our fault. So it's the exact opposite. I just had to say, no, this is not in any way saying we're better. This is saying it's like saying the older child, the older sibling, okay, you need to go do the dishes, stop playing with your younger siblings, go do the dishes, take care, and then the younger siblings get older and they'll do the same job. Okay.
We're going on close to 2 hours. We're not going to go over 2 hours. So I want to give everyone who wants to speak the chance to speak. And I know that this is not the only program. Just like we do at the Jewish Culture and Holocaust 10.7, we have Zoom events monthly, sometimes multiple times a month. We plan as a community to have specific Zooms on this topic. Now, I want to give the opportunity for Lori. It's nice to see you, and nice to see you virtually. I know I've seen you online many times with comments, so it's great to see you. So please, unmute yourself and take the mic.
Forgive me, I have a really bad cold, everyone, so I'm in pajamas still. Just to kind of introduce myself to the group, I'm 53 years old. I'm originally from New York. My father's from Hamburg. He, like I think Mark, L, he was born in 1938. So, as a child experiencing all of this, which has been a huge impact in my sister's life, my life, our entire life. Professionally, I've been a teacher. I started out as a high school teacher and a college professor. And within the years of having my own children, I have two that are young adults, grown college. I became fascinated with early childhood education. So for the last 20 years, I've been working with 0 to grade 2, not grade 5, but I'm very comfortable with that. My biggest comment that I have is, when I think Mark said, let's not focus on this generation or the one right below us, or maybe the third generation, I have to question if that's the right protocol, because the biggest concern I see in class, and I was the director of the Del Mar Early Childhood Education Program for the entire district, so I have a lot of administrative observations instead of not just classroom time, that we as a tenant teach diversity and appreciation of the things that are different in us that make us beautiful. It's one of the very classic early childhood tenets. But what happens is that those children in class will play together and hug each other and love each other all through the school day. They don't care about those differences. Black, white, Jewish, Muslim, they don't care. But they get home. And now they have adults, parents, and families, extended families that have ingrained anti-Semitism or any kind of prejudice, whatever it be, in our case, anti-Semitism. And the message that they're getting during the day is somewhat defeated, even though for those 8 hours of the school day, 5 days a week, those children are hand in hand, singing, playing, touching, learning, experiential moment-to-moment learning. but they go home and the messages are not supported. And so we can do everything we can do in a classroom daily, but I can't control what goes on when those children go home and they're being gently, maybe even fervently, but often gently indoctrinated by the conversations that parents and their grandparents and all the different adults in their world are having around them. That's my concern. And I don't really know how to combat that if we don't pay attention to the third generation, the second generation, kind of where Mark was going with it. We must focus, like, and that's why I'm so into what Jeffrey's doing is, we have to focus on the adults in the room, because the adults in the room are who teaches the children in the room, not just teachers who are all liberal and lovey-dovey and kumbaya, right? We got to deal with the ones who are really making choices for children, which are parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and family dynamic. So that's what I wanted to say.
Well, it's great to see you. Now, I also can say the same thing with Miriam. Miriam, I have never seen you on a program before. It's great to see you. Great to meet you finally. We've been talking for years. So glad to see you here. So go ahead. You take the mic and share.
Okay, I just want to say, since everybody's putting in their background, I worked, I was a speech pathologist and a teacher as well. And I worked for the World of Difference, which is part of ADL. And it was an anti-prejudice, anti-hate, anti-racism program. I don't know if it still exists, but anyways, I agree with Mark Lavie, who said, let's flood the media. This is what the Arabs are doing. This is why they are so strong. I mean, every time it was, the Jews would look around and say, what is it about what we're doing that's so different? Well, it's that we're not out there flooding the media every time that something is said. They said we were genocidal in this war. Yes, we responded to it, but it was not out there everywhere the way the Palestinian responses are. So I think that's one thing we need to do. Another thing is, I don't know how many of you are aware, but right now they're teaching in California racism in high school. It's one of their, and in universities have taken it up too. Unfortunately, they have not included in there, or maybe they did because there were a number of Jews that fought this, me being one of them. They didn't include Jews in there. Why? Because we tend to be middle class, upper middle class. So how can we be the underdog? Our situation is unique, and they need to know it. And they need to know that there's racism against the Jews as well. And it's pretty strong. They need to see the numbers, and they need to, if they're having this discussion on racism in high school and university in classes, then anti-Semitism has to be brought in there. And that is basically what I needed to say. I need to go, so I'm just going to wait a few minutes and then go.
Okay, I'm going to kind of wrap
I
this
just want to say, can I just add one thing? Is that on TikTok, which I happen to have a big community, I was able to communicate with people that are Gen Z at 19 years old who understand my story, because I always talk about being a child of Holocaust survivors. And I feel like if you're telling the story in a way, if you're communicating in a way that's kind of not about talking down about, oh my God, this happened. If you say it, if you say things in a loving environment. That's why I think the spiritual approach has some, unusual tentacles that could come out. And the fact that this thing is called has the word revolution is in this program is a word that we have to all embrace, because as what we're doing now with the traditional Holocaust education that we're seeing, that is with all the museums that are around the country and ADL, it's all not working. None of it's working. So it's like, as much as we need to hammer home the truth, which is what we feel is our instinct to do, because most of us are second generation survivors, we still have to be speaking in a language that is palatable to not us. And that's what the challenge is going to be. So anyway, I just wanted to put that in at the end.
We have some people here who have not commented. I don't want to call you out, but if
Don't forget Yifat.
I'm not.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that those who haven't said anything feel included and have the ability to say something. So if you want to, please take the chance now to raise your hand and we'll let you speak. If not, Yifat, so I'm just going to wait 2 seconds for any hand raises. I don't see any. So Yifat, you're going to have the closing on this section. We will have another program. We're trying to assess the chats, assess the recording, to understand the comments that you've brought forward to us, which are very important, very inclusive. All of you who know me know that I take this very much to heart. Those who are new to the program, new to knowing me, I hope that you see, even with this on, I am very committed to being able to bring this idea forward. So Yifat, I have my friend over here, Barbara Kirsch, who's also a psychologist. 2 seconds on who you are, background, and what you want to bring forward. Barbara, can you hear me? Unmute yourself so you can say it.
Yeah. Okay. So let me, so I've got a PhD psychotherapist, and I have a specialization in marriage and family therapy and family systems. So I have a PhD actually in systems theory. Okay. And that's from St. Mary's University. And what I want to say is that, yeah, Rabbi, I get what you're saying. Change happens when there's a disruption in the system. More of the same is not working for us. It's like a baby's mobile. You pull out one little character out of the baby's mobile, and the rest of the mobile has to readjust. Okay, so more of the same is not going to work. Okay, what I want to talk to about Mark Levy, I think it was, is to a ridiculous. I'm not saying he's ridiculous. His thought is more of the same, saying fighting war with war. That's something that's a change. Any change will disrupt the system, as the Rabbi was talking about. And it also, I'm a licensed psychiatric nurse practitioner. So in neuroscience, in neurotransmitters, when I prescribe, I look at, okay, what's not working in the brain and how do we change the brain so that the neurotransmitters are going around a particular mutation. Okay, so we look at the top down and trickle up. Top down is look at the system and how do we make a change. Anything different is a change. It's going to disrupt the balance. So whatever we're doing is that's not working for us. Okay, we're more of the same is not going to work for us. If we do, okay, with Mark was saying fight fire with fire. That's one change. That's something different. We haven't done that. Okay, I'm not saying we should or should not. I'm just saying that we're going to have to disrupt what we have been doing all along. And I could say more about family systems and systems theory and the neurotransmitters and how and the hubs and the nodes and all that. But in all that is a network that comprises a system that's dysfunctional. We've got to do something different. What that is, being pragmatic, I have no idea. I mean, I think that what I learned was that anything different is a change. Okay, so you don't want to be ridiculous about it to the point of where this one psychologist said, "Oh, pop a balloon and that will change the behavior of the family system." I'm not saying that, but he had a point. It catches the attention, and we need to catch the people's attention. And educating children that's the way to go. Okay, But I also think that educating not just Jewish children, but other children, that spreads out to the whole system, the whole globe, the global system, because what we're doing is not working. And so we got to do something different. And that's what I want to say. Bye.
Okay, I want to also, it's a good chance for me to let everyone know that Barbara is going to be leading a panel of speakers on May 8th for the Trauma Havurah that we do at the Jewish Culture and Holocaust Remembrance Group. So kudos to Barbara for volunteering and bringing her expertise to our community. Yifat, I'm going to give you the last word, and Sheryl.
Thank you, because my mind is blowing.
The second last word,
before
Sheryl.
we lose more people who start to move out because they have also obligations, I'll try to do it as short as I can to sum up the whole thing that came on. I think as we go, the name, the One Revolution, is getting more and more genius, because when we talk about an organism, meaning we are one, doesn't mean we're similar, and it means that we actually, if we want to succeed, I mean humankind, we have to understand that we are one organism. Whatever we do affects the others, and we're not the same. And I think those points came again and again through all the people who spoke today. And thank you for each and one of you, because everything that was said is an important part of the whole picture. We are a puzzle, and each one of us have a different attitude, a different way of working, a different way of doing things. And that's the whole idea, that it's just a beginning. We have so many bursting with ideas. We are Jewish, so we have lots of ideas and opinions, and this is amazing. I think what Sheryl brought us today is the thought and the brain behind everything. It's not the whole thing. And we always have to act in all levels. We have to remember who we are, where are we going, what's the aim, but then we have to be pragmatic. We have to break it into actions. We can't stay in the level of thought, but we can't lose that. So we need to hold the whole thing. We need a level of ideas, ideology, understanding, not just who we are as Jews, who we are as humankind, and we have to split it into actions. Now, what is the right action and what's wrong? Well, there's so many things to do. I do believe that every action, Mark mentioned, I love the story with the star. Yes, everything that we do matters. Even if I hug my daughter this morning can matter, because if she goes happy to school and she affects others, that it's like the butterfly effect. So everything we do, small or big, is okay. I'm a social worker. I remember when I was studying, and we were studying how in some families the dysfunction goes from generation to generation. How can you stop that? And I always wondered what age or what stage in life would be the best place to start a change. And eventually I understood that every part if we go to youth are the one to change, the one to explore and change, the option to change what they learned at home and rebel and do a new world. And that's what my father did as a teenager in the Holocaust. He knew that the grown-ups are wrong. He never lose his way of thinking, and he grew up to be something different from what he was experiencing. And so the message for the youth is so important nowadays. Then we have the young generation. I also work with birth to 3 years old. That's a time when we manage to bring into the kids' consciousness. In that stage, it would never go away, I believe. Even the parents can do something, but if it's planted deep in there and they will meet again and again in their life, those messages, there's a good chance they're going to grow. And I do believe in the new generation. The babies and the young children nowadays are not the one from 50 years ago, not from 25 years ago. They know better, and they do believe in a different world, and they are ready to absorb the change. And we talk about epigenetics, we talk about DNA. I mean, we carry in our DNA the experiences of our ancestors, and it's up to us to use it not to be the victim anymore, but to use it as a power to change, because we felt what it is to be at that side, so we have so many options to change. So whoever sits here and others, that each and every one of you has your own expertise and your own belief. They all matter, they're all important, they're all true, they're all effective. The idea is that we combine our knowledge, we combine our ideas, we combine our forces, we unite in a way that we can cooperate, and then we can gain more. So it's not that who's right and wrong, it's irrelevant. I believe the new world is not about right and wrong. It's about what can we do better. So it's just the beginning. We're going to meet again and again. Please hold to your ideas, bring them on. Everything is relevant. Nothing is threatening as long as our hearts are open. And I believe everyone who sits here comes with an open heart. And one thing, the education, I come from that area as well. Education is crucial because the way to change is to fight ignorance. When people are more educated, they hate less, they understand more, they open their mind more. So education is crucial. Arts, it's an easy way to bring lots of ideas to many people in a very unthreatening way. So we have many ways to explore, and Jeffrey brings all those things in together. The art has a root as well. So keep those ideas, and we want to share them and grow. Each one of us take the fruit that they want and need. We cooperate and bring more and more prosperity to the ideas of changing the world to a better place. Everything is relevant. And one thing, just I have to say, as a Holocaust second generation, to Mark, we are not going to play with the same level as our enemies are. The one thing that kept us going was we hold to our truth. I don't believe we can fight lies with lies. And that is my father's legacy. My father fought for the truth. Once we hold the truth, then we became winners eventually. The truth will not go away. Auschwitz was supposed to be a secret, and it was no one can hold a secret, and no one can hold the lie for long term. What hold the Jewish people for all those years, for more than any other culture, is that we hold to our truth. And I believe that's our way, that's our legacy, and that's our strength. So keep it going. In Chinese, the word break up or breakdown is the same word as a change and opportunity. So whenever we have a breakdown, it's an opportunity to change. And once we have now the chaos, it's an opportunity for a new genesis, for Bereshit, to start things, new things. And with new generations, they are the one to bring it forward to the future. Thank you. I'll stop here.
Sheryl, do you want to add anything?
I only want to add that education makes sense to us. It's in our DNA. Educating kids is in our DNA. It's Lador Vador. Of course, we'll continue doing these things. I'm not taking any idea from anybody. I'm adding something to it. And I think it's something, I hope it's something that people will, whoever told the story of the starfish, I think it was the other Mark. I hope if one person can maybe just get it in their heart, a little possibility. And I love what Jackie said, no hate, doing it differently. Amen. The end.
And I think you could see why I so love these two who have challenged me to be a better person, to tackle something that I never even contemplated. The experience that I had after October 7th, receiving these shocking calls without really even understanding what was going on TV, really. And again, building the group in May of 2021, when I didn't think anybody would join, and to have 20,000 members, it's just, I still pinch myself. And we're started here together. We have almost 100 members on Facebook already. A lot of you have come from the notations and promos that I did on Facebook. And so they brought you here. So I really am thrilled that all of you are here. We're going to publish the next date. We don't have it yet. We have to really kind of process what we've just heard. Everything that you've said has been heard and is recorded. The recording will be streaming tomorrow. And I usually have these on Sunday, but it'll be all available. I have your email addresses through the RSVPs. You'll get a link to the stream. I hope that you share it widely. You may not have to agree with it, but we do need your effort. And Abe and all of you have been talking about how this can spread. Doesn't take much to spread it through the internet. So I also want to let you know that there are 3 Yom HaShoah programs that the Jewish Culture and Holocaust Remembrance Group is having in April, April 7th, April 21st, and April 28th. Both Miriam, raise your hand there, Miriam, so we'd see you. And Jackie is presenting a program on the 21st for Yom HaShoah, which is very really going to be something different. Again, not a normal Yom HaShoah program. So I hope that you'll go to the event sections of our group or the website and you will sign up. We'd love to have you with us. So thank you very much to all of you who are participating, and it was such a great event. Thanks, guys. See you later.